Hello, my name's Bob Willis and welcome to Defect of the Week, brought to you by the Robotic Soldering Experience. Now, what is the Robotic Soldering Experience? We'll talk about that a little bit later on and you can get further information on it. But let's talk about the defects and solder tearing. Now, sometimes people call it cracking, but it isn't. When we've got lead-free solders of different alloys, you can actually see small tears in the surface of the joint. You can see it sometimes with X-ray, you can certainly see it optically. And if you look at high magnifications, you'll find that some of the reason we see a dull appearance in the surface of certain joints is because you've got this tearing phenomena. And what's actually happening is a solder is separating at the boundaries between some of the different alloys, and you get these marks on the surface. Now, there really isn't any evidence to suggest that this cosmetic issue which actually cause a reliability problem. And again, if you look hard enough, you'll see it on many joints. You also see it on BGA joints which have been reflow soldered, and this is dependent on the mix of alloys. Now, I tend to have seen this more commonly on higher silver content materials as opposed to the low silver content solders that we use more commonly in lead-free, driven by the cost of the materials. There is guidance and suggestions within international inspection standards to have a look at and reference, but just try taking a look at some joints and see if you see it on any of the joints you're producing. So what's the Robot Soldering Experience? Well, basically it's a feature area that I've put together, bringing together suppliers of robotic soldering systems, the materials that are used in the form of cord wires, but also some of the other associated equipment to help set up quality control the process, monitor and help develop your product with a robotic soldering system. And what we've done is brought it together in one area for a day, and we've built some test boards. We've allowed each of the different suppliers to solder the boards initially to get the best process for that particular design, and then what we're going to do is inspect those sample boards. Again, anonymously, but to IPC standards, and I've got great faith that all of the suppliers will do a perfect job and the soldering performance will be very, very good from the systems, having spent a few hours setting it up to get it to its optimum. But that's obviously what we want to try and do. And if a supplier can provide you with examples of and the process parameters that have actually been achieved on a fairly representative board in manufacture, then you should have more confidence that he can provide the same sort of results for your production boards. In addition, what we're doing is interviewing and asking questions about specifics related to robotic soldering, but also design rules, quality standards and guidance on the use of these tools in manufacture. Sometimes the use of robotic soldering systems or robots in general is a daunting task, but the earlier you learn about the techniques, even if you haven't got a process or a product ready to go, then that's particularly valuable for staff and engineers to understand. So with the online webinars and video recordings, which will be available for you to view at any time after the initial recording, then that will be a very valuable resource going forward. And of course, we'll be featuring our Defect of the Week, brought to you by the Robotic Soldering Experience as well.